And now it is really my honor and privilege to welcome to the stage President Bill Clinton.
Whoa. Thank you. Thank you. I just proved two things at the same time. I'm both clumsy and have good balance. First, I want to thank Bernie and the American Heart Association for being such good partners to us these last few years. And I want to thank John Gouveia from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, without whom we could not have done any of this work in our schools. They have funded it, and you should know it. And we should give them another round of applause, I think. And I want to thank all of you for setting a good example for schools across America, for proving that we can make our schools healthier places where students and staff will eat better, exercise more, and learn more, and perform their jobs better. As Bernie just said, we now have more than 18,000 schools in our network and more than 11 million children. And I'm very proud of it. I'm proud of the fact that First Lady Michelle Obama, when she organized this Let's Move program, just asked us to do the school program, part of their strategy. It's been immensely rewarding. The Alliance for a Healthier Generation has been working along for some time now, and I'm very grateful that we have, among other things, a member of our Youth Advisory Board, Christina Wilson, who comes from Brooklyn, New York City's most populous borough, where and Olympic gold medalist Derek Atkins, thank you for being here and for your work. Thank you so much. I want to talk a little bit about something Bernie mentioned earlier, just because it's in the news. A few years ago, we had this crazy idea based on the experience my foundation had had in working with the major manufacturers of generic AIDS medicine. I thought we could lower the price, not with a rule or a regulation, but with an agreement. So we lowered the price of AIDS medicine dramatically. Essentially, when we started from $500 a person a year all the way down to around $100, and children's drugs from $600 to $60 a year. And we did it by getting everybody together and saying, I'm not asking you not to make money. Why don't you make money in a different way? So we did the same thing with the major soft drink manufacturers in America and the people who supplied fruit juice, which has a lot of sugar in it. And we asked them to work with us. I said, I know you don't want all these kids to grow up and have diabetes when they're in their 30s. I know you don't. You want them to be your customers still. You want them to be buying things from you. Let's figure out something that's good for them that is still economically viable for you. And they took out all the full sugar soft drinks. They reduced the size of the full sugar fruit juices. They went to a lot of, well, all of you know because your schools have done it. But we had 2 independent reviews within the last 3 years that said that in the more than 90% of the schools in America participating in this, there had been voluntarily a 90% reduction in the calories shipped to our schools in drinks, served in both vending machines and cafeterias. So then we decided to go to the major companies that were providing meals to millions of our students, 30 million. And we asked them to make an agreement among themselves to change the composition of the meals, to increase their nutritional value and reduce their caloric total. And they did that. Then when Congress came along and was ready to pass the new food standards, and the Agriculture Department was ready to promulgate them, I'm very honored that they essentially used the agreements we had worked out as a guidepost. Since then, there have been a few loud voices saying what a terrible deal this is. You know, bring me back my trans fats. And how people don't want to comply, people don't want to eat it and all that stuff. And you are a living rebuke to that. And it is very important because there are still some people who, for short-sighted economic reasons, want to repeal these rules. And you have proved that you can implement them. And as you heard earlier, everyone here represents a school that is meeting or exceeding the new national standards. And more than 95% of the 18,000 plus schools that participated in the Healthy School programs are doing the same thing. We are moving. When I started this work, I said, look, I'm not going to demonize anybody. It's a long, complicated story. How we wound up growing, processing, delivering, and consuming food and drink that was giving us the highest rate of obesity in the world. And a lot of it has to do with an economy that is growing more and more unequal, not just here, but around the world, so that more and more people are working harder, but they have less disposable income. They eat on the run, and they often eat things that aren't good for them. Obesity now, there's a national program in the United Kingdom. There's a national program in Ireland. It's a huge problem now in the urban areas of India and China. The second fastest growing rate of diabetes in the world is in the Middle East and North Africa. So we are not alone in this, but we are, in effect, the canary in the coal mine. We got there first. And we have to turn it around first. Our children are depending on us. And it really does matter enormously. And you can't diet your way out of it without good exercise, and you certainly can't exercise your way out of it without good diet. For most of my adult life, I ran 20 or 25 miles a week, and I still had to have open heart surgery. And I don't want any of you to go through that. And it is not necessary. So I'm really proud of you. And I want to ask you, particularly in this about to start school year or just started school year, don't make it a secret that you're complying or exceeding these guidelines, that you're proud of it, that it's good for your kids, that people are not throwing food at you every day at breakfast and lunch. And that all these people that want to go back to the way it was are not prepared to take responsibility personally or economically for the consequences of raising a generation of people that get diabetes and its attendant consequences and wreck lives and damage the American economy. A few days ago, we had the annual meeting of our Clinton Global Initiative in New York, which I hold around the time of the opening of the United Nations. And people come from all over the world and make commitments to try to make the world a better place. And every year he's been in office, President Obama has come. And this year, for the first time, we just sat and discussed health care, both in America and what our government is doing around the world. You may read a lot or hear a lot in the press about how China has outstripped what America spends in building roads and railroads for countries in the developing world. That's true. Nobody comes close to what America invests in trying to help babies stay alive in poor countries and improving health care. You should be proud of that. And it has been, and it's a bipartisan deal. It was also true under George W. Bush. And I'm telling you this because I asked the president, I said, why'd you get into this healthcare thicket when the country was trying to stave off depression? He said, because long term it's a huge economic issue. We're spending 18% of our money, almost our income, on healthcare. No other major country, big country, spends more than 11.8. The difference is $1 trillion a year. And so that's $1 trillion we can't spend in hiring new people and raising pay. And I really respect the American Heart Association because there's so many physicians in it, and they're basically saying, we're prepared to make less money if we get to perform fewer heart surgeries. We would like you to put us out of business and make us general practitioners again. You think about it, that's basically what they're saying. We wish nobody needed what we have to do most of the time, every week of our working lives. And it's a noble thing they have done, and profoundly important. So when you go home, don't be shy about telling people that you don't think these food guidelines are all bad. And those of you who have exceeded them, you can wink and say, actually, we thought they were a little weak, so we did better. That would be good, too. I'd also like to say I'm grateful for some of our other partners. And Howell Wexler, who runs our Alliance for a Healthier Generation, and I announced at the Global Initiative with McDonald's that in their 20 biggest markets in 20 countries in the next few years, they are going to change their advertising and food offerings to try to improve the nutritional standards of what our children who shop there eat. And I think that's a very big deal. And finally, all of you are being honored, but our gold level recognition school, Wilkerson Elementary of El Monte, California, I'd like to ask them to come up. This is the third school from El Monte to get an award from the Alliance for a Healthier Generation. And as far as I can tell, they didn't violate any antitrust law or anything, but they seem to be doing very well. And I want to thank Principal Munoz for his leadership. Since Wilkerson joined the program in 2010, it has achieved a variety of very positive results. Attendance rates have gone up. The academic performance index has increased by almost 100 points, is now the highest in the school district. And he believes, the principal, there's a direct correlation between the school's improved health policies and practices and increased attendance and academic performance. Big surprise. Really, you think about it. I mean, 30 years ago, it would have been common sense. Now it's a big breakthrough. And I'm not putting it down, but it's amazing how our ability to engage in self-delusion, if it's in the short-term interest of somebody or another. And so I think this is wonderful. And I think that the fact that an academic leader is willing to stand up and say, our kids come to school because they're healthier, they wake up with more energy, they know we're going to take good care of them, and by the way, they feel better and learn more, is a message that we need to get out all across America. And at Wilkerson, the students, the staff, and the parents are working hard to eat better and move more. Students have opportunities to move throughout the school day, and healthy food is offered for all the meals and snacks. Students even had opportunities to bring healthy food home when Wilkerson hosted a farmer's market after class. School staff helped to lead by example, participating in the wellness clubs and the fitness classes. I'd also like to note that Wilkerson Elementary, as I said, is receiving gold national recognition, but there are two other schools in El Monte which shows that have received recognition before, which shows that the whole district has a commitment and is collaborating to achieve broad-based success. I also want to say just one more time how grateful I am to all of you. This is such a big deal. You know, there's no bad news here, so you may not make a headline. But as I told all the people at the closing session of our global initiative, to keep your sanity in the modern world, if you're a serious person and you're worried about our kids' future, you have to be able to distinguish between the headlines and the trend lines. And if you're trying to build a world of positive interdependence, whether it is against violence or for good health, a more broadly shared prosperity, and a reduction in inequality and incomes and economic opportunities generally, you may not ever get the headline if you're making something good happen, but you've got to be committed to changing the trend line. It's the trend lines that open up new vistas of opportunity to our children. And it's the trend lines that can close them off. How many decades did we go when this obesity thing and rising diabetes was becoming a terrible problem? And it was a trend line that also was never a headline. The life of a people and the life of individuals in any given time is shaped more by the trend lines. I hope today that you'll all get headlines back home. You deserve it. But whatever happens, you change the trend line of your students' lives. You're going to give them a better chance to live their dreams. And you're going to give our country a better chance to make something good happen in the 21st century. All over the world today, there's this huge struggle going on in a million different ways between people who are trying to put things together and people who are trying to tear things apart. Sometimes it's violent, usually it's not. And the whole future will be determined by what the trend lines are. You know, if one of you got up, went crazy, and broke out that window, you could be in the newspaper tomorrow. That'd be the headline. But it wouldn't change the fact that all the rest of you are the trend line. That has to be enough for all of us. In the end, you have to measure your life by whether children have a better future, whether things are coming together instead of being torn apart. That is the trend line you are establishing, and it's our best hope for the future. Thank you, and God bless you. Give him a hand, huh? Here. You want to say anything? Go, come on, say something.
You know, I've always dreamed of meeting President Clinton, so if I stumble upon my words, but I think the message that I really want to get across is that only 2% of schools ever exit PI status once they become a program improvement for school. Wilkerson School was able to accomplish this, of having a growth of 100 API points, of being able to meet AYP through Safe Harbor, because instruction was the central focus, but it was also in terms of physical activity, health education for our students. That was the driving force. Us meeting Safe Harbor AYP the first year was when we got bronze. Exiting PI status is when we received silver. And now 3 consecutive years of growth of meeting AYP, which is really remarkable, is based on the growth that we did as a school in our health education programs. And I feel to a certain extent that I'm standing here, and I always tell my staff, I know that I have to be in front of the school, and I know I'm the pretty face in the front, but the people that do the real hard work, the people that have really made a difference, it's Karen Hastings, one of our lead teachers that's here in the audience. I think she should stand up because she deserves a round of applause. And really, having our kids thrive, really that the success is not the individual success of one, but the collective success of all of us, whether it's in one school or now within this forum, is far more important. And I thank you, President Bill Clinton. It's really an honor. I was an undergrad when you first went into office. My mom almost fainted when I told her that I was going to get to meet you, and it's really an honor, really an honor, President Clinton. Thank you for